a genuine high-level regular season basketball game. Noon start. The weather in Dallas today was spectacular. People were having brunch, coming here for a noon game. They get 5 probable future Hall of Famers in the starting lineup, 4 of which are sort of in their prime superstars. Luka, Kyrie, KD, and Devin Booker combined for 137 points.
That's pretty good.
Game came down to the final 15 seconds. Durant on a broken play hit this brilliant shot. And then Luka, just, I don't know, MacMahon, I guess he was defended by Josh Okogie, but
no, he just missed.
He just blew a layup.
Josh, by the time Luka was letting that shot go, Josh Okogie was in the third row.
He missed the bunny.
Booker believes he was in the third row because he pushed off. Devin Booker expressed as much, according to Booker. Luka felt like Booker was taunting him. Luka, who's still working on his English, said, "Shut the flip up." And then they get all face to face or smile, but they, it's one of those smiles like,
well, Luka has a smile that's, it's not exactly warm.
Yeah. No, listen, it's fun. It was fun. And Booker said it is, when you guys are in there talking to Booker after the game, he says, you guys say you don't want everything to be all friendly. We got some smoke. And Luka said, it's a competitive game. It's all good. Next time, just don't wait until there's 3 seconds left to talk. Those guys, this goes back to, obviously the playoffs last year. And, I think it was after game 5 in Phoenix, whenever the Suns went up 3-2, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Luka walked off the floor in Phoenix saying, everybody acts tough when they're up. And then, came back. The Mavs win the series.
What game was it? Yeah. What game was it?
Oh, that's game 7 when it was Luka Doncic 30, Suns 27 at halftime. They both teams have made major splashes, which speaking of friendliness, I didn't sense a whole lot of that between KD and Kyrie Irving. Matter of fact, I'm not sure if those guys even recognize each other. They sure didn't chat. But anyways, major splashes with those former Brooklyn buddies going their separate ways. KD to Phoenix, Kyrie to Dallas. And look, man, this was a unbelievably entertaining basketball game with a little brouhaha at the end. This is good for business. This is fun.
So this is what I thought was interesting. So obviously we got emotions running hot between Luka and Booker. Maybe not warm, maybe not hot, but running warm.
I would say hot. That goes back.
Double technicals. Yeah. Hot enough for Luka to get technical 14 after the game had been decided. That's away from a 1-game suspension.
It's a good old-fashioned real rivalry at this point. It was very fun.
And then while they were reviewing the altercation, then they got chest to chest again at the other end of the court and had to be separated again. So we got emotions running hot on one end, and then the emotion with KD and Kyrie was nil.
They didn't acknowledge each other.
I asked KD after the game about it, and he goes, "There was no emotion." And he kind of gave like a diplomatic answer. He's like, "Yeah, we'll talk about it later. It's not a time to talk." Well, I don't know what it was. And there was one point, I don't know if the TV showed it, but it was in commercial break, so it wasn't live. And KD walked down towards the Dallas bench, and they walked past each other, literally 6 inches from each other, didn't even look at each other, didn't even turn their heads, walked right past each other. KD went down and chatted, said something to Jason Kidd, said something else, somebody else in the Dallas bench, nothing. Mm-hmm. Post game, Markieff Morris comes over, KD's teammate with the Nets just this year. I'm trying to think. Markieff has been around. I don't know if he's been a teammate of his before. I don't think so. He was a teammate of his for a few months. Bear hug right before KD. KD delays the post game interview to give Markieff a bear hug. Doesn't even look in Kyrie's direction. Zero, nothing. And they can say that I think Kyrie said yesterday, didn't he? MacMahon?
A couple of days ago after the last game, brothers. He'll be my brother for life. Looking forward to the friendly competition. Saw some competition. I didn't see any friendliness.
Well, I think Cassidy on the broadcast said that Kevin, told her or said that he was disappointed with the fact that Kyrie left before the season ended, that they didn't get a chance to see this thing out. And certainly certainly seems like there's some emotion there. I mean, the bottom line is for me, as somebody who wasn't in the building and was watching that game on TV with our man, the machine, here in Boston this afternoon, I'd like to see Dallas and Phoenix play in a 7-game series. I think Phoenix would probably win fairly comfortably, but it'd be some pretty fun emotion and a lot of energy in that series on a lot of fronts.
Just to be clear, this game could have easily gone either way. This was not a referendum.
Right.
No.
I will say this, though, like one thing that was clear, I've been to 2 games on this road trip, 2 of the 3 Durant games on this road trip. It's pretty clear to me that the opposition is going to camp on Booker and Durant and even on Ayton. And so what the Suns did today, basically, the Mavericks, their defensive strategy, they shrunk the floor. They collapsed on the lane to keep Ayton from getting going. In fact, Ayton was a little bit frustrated. He still had 16 rebounds. And they basically said, whoever is playing for the Suns and Chris Paul, we're not going to guard. They just didn't guard Chris Paul.
There was 3, if you want to call KD the 4. But yeah, the 5th guy out there, Josh Okogie, for a long time in this game, he had more shot attempts than KD, which is a massive win for the Mavericks. He ends up 3 of 13 from the floor, 0 of 8 from three-point range. And those 8 threes are like, here's your invitation. We are humbly requesting that you take that wide-ass open three-pointer in the corner. Sir.
Well, listen, over the final – so Kevin hit a 3 with 3:04 left to put Phoenix ahead by a point. The next few possessions were an Ish Wainwright 3, an Ish Wainwright 2, a Chris Paul 3, a Chris Paul 2.
Wasn't an Ish Wainwright 2. He had 4 threes.
He had missed – no, I'm saying these are shots. They were all missed shots.
I apologize.
My point is, in the final 3 minutes, there was a 2-minute period where neither one of Devin or Kevin shot the ball.
Yeah, which is
Booker finally took.
Yeah,
that's what they were trying to do.
Trying to do. Wainwright goes 4 of 5 from three-point range. That's was a massive swing in this game because, again, Okogie couldn't hit anything. And then Chris Paul, I thought he might be CP3 PPG, but he had a big fourth quarter. Dude had 8 points in the fourth quarter. And, look, it sounds crazy because he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but teams are going to be okay with Chris Paul getting wide open threes if it means they're getting the ball out of Booker's hands and Durant's hands.
Yeah, that was my big takeaway is if this was a 7-game series and it was 1-0, we would be talking on TV and writing about this is going to be a Chris Paul decided series because, so in this game, Booker and Durant scored 73 and Irving and Luka scored 64. Luka was being bothered a little bit by a thigh injury. It was offset by the fact that Tim Hardaway hit 5 of 6 threes in the first half. So on a normal game, that easily could flop. It easily could be Doncic and Kyrie that have 70 and Durant and Durant and Booker who have 60. And then maybe it's a Koji who hits a few more. But I'm telling you, Chris Paul is going to be getting straight wide open shots for the rest of this season until he proves that he can do it. And he has not this year. He's having one of the worst shooting seasons of his career. So that was one takeaway that I had from this game and seeing these 3 games so far with Durant is that they are disrespecting Chris Paul, not like straight, like we don't think we can play anymore, but they're just like, look, we got to pick who we're dealing with. And we're looking at the percentages and the percentages say Chris Paul isn't getting it done like he used to, and they're going to let him open.
And I thought they actually did a really good job defending Kevin Durant. Durant had 17 field goal attempts in 40 minutes. That's a phenomenal job. He still scored 37 points and hit the game winner. He still scored 37 points on 17 shots and hit the game winner. Obviously he gets to the line 11 times. That helps. But guess what? Like, he's going to get to the line because you have no chance unless you're physical with him. But, dude, we've seen this now for 15 years or whatever, but somebody that tall and long who's that good off the dribble and then just can get to a spot, slam on the brakes, go straight up, perfectly balanced, and shoot over anybody in the world. Like, unless you're getting the ball out of his hands, basically you just have to hope he misses.
On the game-winning play, the Mavericks, who we've maligned for their defense, and rightly so, the Mavericks defense killed the play. They were going to run a side pick and roll. They killed the play, totally broke into pieces. Durant took the ball and went and found something. When others, I mean, even when he broke off the play, they still forced him to go like in a semicircle around, like a right-handed player driving left. I mean, Jason Kidd had to say, we'll take it. And
the one thing they wish that they could have executed was throwing the body at him again when he got the ball back, right? The second time. He was able to go one-on-one there at the end against Hardaway. And Hardaway played him as well as he can, but Tim Hardaway is never going to be able to stop Kevin Durant.
He's given up 6 or 7 inches there.
Yeah, just never going to happen. And by the way, there's a very short list of players who might be able to stop KD from getting a shot off one-on-one.
So they're now 2-5 with Luka and KD playing together. 4 of the losses have come down to the final 20 seconds.
All five.
All five.
And look, this was not about. There have been cases, I think of the Timberwolves game, especially where they're passing the ball back and forth to each other and they turn it over. The Lakers game where the most important possession of that game, they're down 3 with 18 seconds left, and Luka has a total brain fart, and they turn it over because he doesn't realize he can go back court to get the inbounds pass. This was not about a lack of clutch execution by the Mavericks. They got Luka in a situation where he's going one-on-one. He muscles up. Booker would say pushes off, whatever. Luka got a little 3-foot wide open shot that he's going to make 98 times out of 100. He said,
I was going to say, what is the percentage on that? It's high. It's high.
Yeah, he said one of his buddies, I assume a non-basketball playing buddy, texted him after the game and said, I could have even made that. I mean, and if he makes that, then who knows? You know what? Because there would have been 3.5 seconds left, and guess what? Either Durant or Booker might have made a shot to win it there.
I don't think they had a timeout, though. I don't think they had a timeout.
But again, this came down to KD made a great shot, and Luka created a great look and missed a bunny. That's for all the other stuff that happened. That's what it came down to.
Yeah. So this was a big, long homestand. What did they do on this homestand?
Ain't over yet, baby. We got those Jazz coming in. I hope Larry Markkanen's lower back soreness is feel a little bit better by that point. I know the Jazz are really trying to finish strong here. I tell you what, they got the Sixers in here. Philly was on a back-to-back, but still they beat the Sixers, and thank goodness for them, because it's been a rough go. They spanked the Spurs, which is, I believe, was the result that both teams are very, satisfied with. And other than that, it's been a tough homestand. And again, it's very simple. You're gonna have to score 130 or so to beat the Mavericks. Guess what? The Mavericks, and our old buddy Bob Voulgaris tweeted something along these lines. The Mavericks are gonna have to score 130 to win. They had 126 today. They lose 130.
Well, Bontemps, that's the thing about a playoff series. Like, I think any series with the Mavericks is going to go a long way. It's going to kind of be seesaw like that. But by the way, like, the Mavericks they're sliding here. I want to take a look at those standings, Bontemps.
Yeah, I mean, now you've got Minnesota.
Dallas is outside the 6.
Well, not only is Dallas outside the 6, but the Clippers are outside the 6. You've right now got Dallas and the Clippers matched up in the first play-in game, and you've got Minnesota, who we talked about a week ago, having a horrible loss to Golden State where they collapsed and lost that game. They're now up into 6th because they've had a good couple days, and that's really what
they won 3 in a row.
Yeah, that's what the next few weeks in the Western Conference are going to be like. There's 5 weeks to go in the season from now until the end of the year, and it's going to be week to week, things are going to shift, and day to day, things are going to shift pretty wildly when you have all these teams, right, all bunched together like this. Right now with the Lakers and Warriors, they got a 2-point game with 2 minutes to go. Like, the winner of that game, it's a big swing. across the board. And, to go back to this game, the thing that stood out to both this game really, to me, highlighted the way I think things are going to go in the playoffs with both these teams. For Dallas, you guys talked about it a bunch. Their defense is a huge problem. I thought it was good. Josh Green's back in the starting lineup. Would have obviously helped if Maxi Kleber played today.
Also would have helped if Josh Green would have scored a point.
Well, that would have helped. But you saw Reggie Bullock in particular against both Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. He just wasn't good enough to stop either of those guys. And Josh Green's at least big enough and physical enough to go toe-to-toe with those guys to some degree. He's their best option they have. He's certainly better than Justin Holiday.
I'll say this. I thought Reggie Bullock played some really good defense, and sometimes really good defense ain't good enough against.
No, for sure.
I agree. I can't look in. I can't say Reggie Bullock played a bad game, and he gets.
I wasn't saying he played a bad game either, but if he's your secondary guy and you have Josh Green out there, I think that at least gives them a chance. Where I don't think Justin Holiday gives them much of a chance. And then on the other end,
they'd love to have Dorian Finney-Smith. They had to give him up to get Kyrie, just like the Phoenix Suns, and this is even more so. They'd love to have Mikal Bridges to be the guy who's okay. You want to dare him to take all those wide open threes?
Right.
Good luck. Well, you're not getting Kevin Durant without giving that guy up.
Well, and that's the thing about watching the Suns, right? You mentioned Durant's going to get to the foul line. Durant doesn't really get to the foul line like that very often. He averages around 7 a game. Obviously, he got 11 today, a couple late on that intentional foul. But this Phoenix team came into this game 27th in the league in free throw attempts per game. They are not going to shoot a ton of free throws. They have to win with pretty insane jump shooting. Their starting five today was 17 for 25 on jump shots. That's tied for the most of any 5-man lineup in the league this season in a game. Through their games so far, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are shooting a combined 61% on jump shots. Now, look, they obviously are incredible shooters, right? I'm not saying it's not out of the world that they're doing that, but they're going to have to do that every game in the playoffs for 2+ months for them to win because their defense isn't very good and they're not getting a lot of easy points. So,
define easy because Kevin Durant shooting mid-range shots be considered easy.
It's a shot that I always think is going in because he's one of the great offensive players in the history of the game. But it's going to be on those guys to create shots a lot because, you guys said, Chris Paul is not the same player, and teams are going to load up on those two guys, and it's going to be a lot of Josh Okogie, who was over 8 from 3. It's going to be a lot of Ish Wainwright. It's going to be a lot of Torrey Craig. It's going to be a lot of Campaign. It's going to be a lot of these other guys having to hit shots.
One thing I'll say about the Suns.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, I wonder if there needs to be more Damian Lee, but then you're giving it up on the other end for him.
One thing I'll say about the Suns is they're bigger than they were before because they brought in a 7-footer. And so they got in this particular game, they got all the big rebounds. They had two putbacks, one by Booker, one by Ayton in the last couple minutes. And then at the end, Durant got the rebound to secure the game after Luka missed it. They got all the big rebounds. Ayton had 16 boards. And that's a thing for, the thing I'd say about the Mavericks, all 5 of these losses come down to the last seconds. It means the margin's pretty thin. It means that they're not, it means that they're not like an eon away. I just don't know where they're going to come up with the difference. And I don't know, how long it's going to take them to do that.
Their defense is just rough. Also, Ayton's got to get more than 6 shots.
Well, that's what happened.
More than 2 free throws.
But that's what happened in this game. The Mavericks, when they ran a pick and roll for Ayton, they closed off the middle. They completely shrank the floor. Whoever was guarding Chris Paul would completely come off him to go over to Booker or Durant. Literally would run away from him.
Yep.
And then whoever was guarding the I call the 4 because I feel like Durant plays the 3, but if it's Torrey Craig, if it's Josh Okogie, if it's
the corner guy,
Wainwright, if it's Terrence Ross, whoever was on that guy, he just didn't even care about it. He ran in to try to defend on Ayton's pick and roll. And so that's the game. I talked to the Suns players about it afterwards. I talked to Monty, I talked to Booker, I talked to Durant. I didn't get to talk to Chris Paul. He was got out of here in a hurry. But that's going to be the game plan. And so, we'll see. All right.
And look, the Mavs exposed the Suns' flaws in glaring fashion and still gave up 130 points. And, it wasn't good enough to win.
Well, here's the thing. Not in the second half, to be clear, but there are times
They
now that I've
knocked down
watched
some
this.
big shots.
Now that I've watched the Suns play a little bit here, there are times where they make two passes and generate a great shot, like in 5 seconds.
Mhm.
Like in the first quarter and a half of this game, I'm not sure that the shot clock got below 10 more than a couple of times when the Suns had the ball, because it was like pass, wide open shot, pass, dribble, wide open shot, like swing. And there was one point where Chris Paul brought the ball up the court. Both Booker and Durant touched it, and it resulted in an 8 and dunk. And the Mavs called timeout. And Durant was walking back over to the Suns bench, and he was screaming, "That's basketball! That's basketball!" Which, it sounds pretty basic, but the concept is they just move it, and you can't move it fast enough. That isn't the way it was at the end of the game. But there's going to be games where they take care of business in the first half. So, all right.
I also think in general, when you look at it, like to me, obviously the way Dallas guarded them, it nearly got them a win. Sort of to me, I still think if you're going to beat the Suns, the best way to do it is to single cover Devin and Booker and Durant for most of the game, and make them shoot 70 times. Because to me, if you're giving these other guys on the Suns all sorts of just practice threes, like over time, I'm not sure how that'll work out, but I just would not let any of those guys get open looks, because I just don't think any of those guys can create anything. And I don't think, for as good as those two guys are, I don't think they're going to score 120 points by themselves every game.
So your game plan is the two guys who scored 73 today, despite seeing a steady diet of double teams, just single cover them and try your luck with that. An efficient 73, by the way.
I just think over time, if you're giving up all of these wide open shots and those guys are making shots, and look, some teams don't have the manpower to do that, right? But like, for example, they're right now lined up to play Golden State. Now, Golden State's going to lose today. We'll see where they wind up. But like, if they play Golden State in a series and they could throw Clay on Booker and they throw Wiggins on Durant, not that those guys are going to stop those guys, but say, all right, you guys like try to score 90 a game between the two of you every game. And we're not going to give up 20 points on threes, or not 20, 30 points on threes to these other 6 or 7 players. We're just not going to do that. We're not going to let DeAndre Ayton get easy buckets, right? Like, it'll be interesting to see how teams guard them, because I do think you can make an argument that's a more effective strategy long term than giving up a ton of wide open shots to these other guys.
It's as old as time. That's a strategy as old as time. Do you let the guy go get off, or do you let you make the other guys beat you? That's strategy as old as time.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.